Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your girl Mitzi, and this is Mitzi. Let's think about it. Today, we are thinking about setbacks as a setup. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, can you really comprehend a setback to be a setup in your life? Well, thankfully, I have a special guest here, Guy, who's going to be helping us think about this so that we can really put it into perspective into our lives. So, thank you so much, Guy, for coming onto my show, sharing your time and your perspective with me. Let's dive right in. When you hear the phrase setbacks as setups, what does that make you think about?
Wow. Really, I guess I would have to, in a way, I know this sounds egotistical, but really put it to my personal perspective. When in my career, I was a stockbroker, very successful one. Success meaning, if you were making money and all of those things that you could go and buy and that type of thing. Success is much more than that. But to get back onto that subject, toward the end of my career, when I was really just going to go into the business part time, I had a fairly large company, and I was leaving the company to my children as well as to some of the brokers that worked for me. Toward the end of the career of my career full time, I started another business with two investment bankers. And we raised money for the new company to keep the employees and the brokers and such. It's kind of a long story, and I'm happy to share that with you. But to give you the thumbnail, never having a complaint on my record at all in over 34 years, which is kind of unusual for a broker, to be honest.
Yeah.
I ended up getting caught up with the federal government. What had happened, Mitzi, is a few of my brokers, we found out later, had been misleading our clients. And when they did that, they did it to make money. And of course, I understand it. I don't agree with that. But what happened is when they got caught and they started being asked questions, they told them to save themselves. And I understand. They told them I instructed them to do that, and I instructed them to mislead and to lie to the investors, which is something I never did. Matter of fact, I passed two polygraph tests after the government came after me and accused me of doing that and instructing my employees and such. But you know, I think when all of us, and being human beings, we all mess up. We do sometimes the very small ones.
Absolutely.
The other one, we park in the wrong spot. The other one is that you run somebody over. A horrible experience and maybe a horrible example, but they're two very extreme examples. And the thing is that as a human being, we make mistakes. Now, if you go personally out there to purposely hurt people, things are going to catch up with you. I know a lot of people call that karma,
Absolutely.
but the thing is that there's always going to be a balance, and your life is going to balance out. And what I
Yeah.
mean by that is that if you hurt someone or you do something to someone, purposely, there's going to be a balance somewhere down the road, whether it's in this life or the next. But the thing is that what really bothered me is when the government started coming after me and accusing me of all of these things. Of course, they leaked all of this information to the newspaper and to the local media, news channels as well. And made me look like the guy who was a liar, who was a thief, who stole old people's money and, all of those
Yeah.
things. And, Mitzi, if the government would have said, look, Gane, this is your company, you're responsible. How could I argue with that? Because it's the same analogy that we've used in a boat or in a ship. When the ship runs aground, if it does, the sailors don't get in trouble. The captain does, and rightly so. He's in charge. It's his
Absolutely.
responsibility. So I think the thing is that for me, that was a personal hurt that the government accused me of doing all of these things and took the reputation that I had in my community. I had my main office was in Buffalo. I had four offices nationwide, by the way, but my main office was in Buffalo, and I had a really good reputation in the business community here. And
Yeah.
actually, it took me so many years to build. Within 8 hours, was totally gone.
Oh,
I was branded as a
absolutely.
thief and a liar, as I said, and that really hurt. But it's a long story, obviously. But the thing is that you need to bounce back.
Yeah, and it sounds like you had a lot of setbacks, despite the a lot of great situation that you put yourself by building a business, having
Hmm.
great clientele, having great relationship with people, have a good reputation.
Hmm.
It shows how you were esteemed in your position. You know what I mean? But then
Right.
it seems like, that got taken right under you when people started to accuse you and ruin your name and
Right.
basically accuse you to be something that you know in your heart that you weren't. And it's
Right.
hard to come back from that. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
hard to validate yourself when the world is devaluing you as a
Yeah.
human being. You know what I mean? So honestly, how did you see this setback as a setup?
Because it's easy to go through life when you're successful all the time.
Mhm.
Success doesn't define you. Failures define you.
There you
And
go.
you either cave in and give in
Hmm.
to the circumstances and say, "What am I going to do? My life is over." And there's a lot of people, a lot of white collar offenders, I should say, that have actually killed themselves because they couldn't take it.
Absolutely.
And I'm not certainly not faulting them because I know exactly what they were going through mentally, emotionally, and and it stretches out into physicality as well. But
Yeah.
the thing is that for me, I ended up getting a very, very long prison sentence. I fought with the government for a few years and kept denying that I did what they accused me of and so on. In my heart, I do believe that they believed me, but
Somebody has to take the rap,
yeah,
unfortunately.
pretty much, and
Yeah.
that happened to me. I ended up getting a 13-year prison sentence, and
Okay.
my my family name was hurt badly because of this. Actually, even though my last name is Gane, my family name is Iovanishi. We're Italian, and both sides. And the thing is that my children, of course, are Gane as well, and it really hurt them. One of my sons
Absolutely.
went bankrupt. The other one ended up, in a lot of angst. He's a movie actor, and he actually lost jobs because of that, because his name was the same as mine. And
Yeah.
it was really, really sad. But to answer your question directly, I think it's important that we look inside of ourselves and decide who we're going to be. Are we
Yeah.
cowards? Not that somebody that gives up is a coward, but I want to use that word. Are we going to let the world get to us? Are we going to let all of these things that people say stick? Or are we going to take the bag of lemons that are handed to us and make lemonade? And that's what I
Hmm.
decided to do. While I was in prison, I wrote two books. I wrote a course for people that were going to prison, like me, white collar people that had no idea what to expect. I also made a vow that I was not going to allow people to get away with these prison consultants to get away with misleading the people that really needed them.
Yeah.
When the government came after me, Mitzi, they froze all of my money. They took everything, my homes, everything that I had was gone. And to live really on nothing, literally nothing. I was married at the time, and my wife went to food pantries, to the churches. I mean, it was that bad. And it was
Yeah.
my second marriage, and she had some smaller children. So, the thing is that those poor kids had to put up with all of this as well.
Mhm.
And the sad thing is that when again the government leaks all of this information to the media, what took so long to build up a reputation was just destroyed, as I mentioned a minute ago. Within 8 hours, my name was splashed all over the media in Western New York. And, it's sad because you can't really defend yourself. I know
Mhm.
that there are some very, very wealthy people, and I won't name names, that can castigate the government and say all of the things that they want and really get away with it, at least up until
Yeah.
now. But when you don't have that kind of money, when you don't have that kind of backing, you're pretty much left on your own. And what was really sad, Mitzi, is that I remember I had clients for many, many, many years. Some that had stayed with me for almost my whole career.
Mhm.
And people would run out of money. They would use it. That's what it was there for. And know that they really didn't have accounts with me anymore, I would always help them. They would come in, some of these folks would come in and, they needed help with paperwork, or had one client that had a problem with new furniture that they bought. Mr. Gane, can you help me? And I did, and I was always not only happy to do it, but I was honored that they believed in me enough that they thought, they could come to me. But what really hurt is one of my clients who had been, just a client. Well, their money was gone, as they say. But the following weekend, after everything had happened, and this was back in 2008, what had happened is they seen one of my other brokers at church that Sunday,
Yeah.
and they said to this broker, "I can't believe what I read about Mr. Gane. Well, I guess you really don't know people." And I thought, really? I mean, here for
Oh,
years, I've done, you
well,
know,
what do you expect? That's what people are gonna
exactly.
say. That's
People
what
are
people
going to
are
say
gonna
that.
say that. So now it's just like now that you've been through that, and now that you've overcame, I know this is a sweet spot for you still, because
Mm-hmm.
where whenever you go out and about, that
Mm-hmm.
still lingers. Because are you still out there in New York?
Oh yeah, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that as I've said to people, and I have not been approached, but if I were to, and somebody has a problem with it, that's their problem. That's not my problem any
Exactly. It's
longer.
not. It's not. It sounds
And
like you've grown. I mean, 13 years in prison. And I mean, how can you not just take the time and really think about it? You know what I
right,
mean? And
right,
it sounds like you did, because not only did you write about helping people transition into this
mm-hmm,
prison life, to
mm-hmm,
help people discover themselves. I mean, even in a time when you are doing self-discovery, that is
mm-hmm,
selfless. You know what I mean? That's true
right,
selflessness. And that just shows that no matter what people come at you as,
mm-hmm,
your heart is still real. You know what I mean? Your
right,
heart is still
right,
pure. And as long as you keep your heart intact, it doesn't matter what people say, because you know your heart, you know you're a good person.
right,
And the few people that still validate your goodness, then that's all that matters, right? Because
right,
you don't need the world to see the good in you. You need that handful of people. You know what I mean? The
right,
world is never going to always understand you, but
right,
those few that do, and they know your character, your
mm-hmm,
true character, they know that,
right,
oh, that guy would never, you know what I mean?
right,
So
right,
it's something that we have to learn with time. And it's a great visualization, your story, your
mm-hmm,
testimony for
mm-hmm,
setbacks as a setup, because how can you not see that as a setback? And how can you not see this as a setup? You know what I mean? Like how,
I
like
do.
a person looking into your life, I
Mm-hmm,
don't know you. I never met you.
mm-hmm,
I never write you on the papers, so I don't
mm-hmm,
even know your story. So
mm-hmm,
for me, I can see how this is a setback, but it wasn't truly a setback, because you've overcome it. You've grown from it, you've matured from it, you are
right,
now above it, and now it no longer defines you. It's just a part of you. Then now that you're willing to share openly, because look at you, you're on a podcast talking about it. I mean,
right,
if
right,
that's not healing and letting go and moving forward, then I don't know what is. You know what I'm
right,
saying? So it's just like,
right,
these are the things that people really need to think about, because people are hiding in the dark, ashamed of something that the world accused them of, or someone specifically is accusing them, because rumors go crazy. You know what I
yeah,
mean? When a rumor goes out and somebody allows it to be their truth, and then they're like, but really think about it, it could possibly be, then there goes the rumor feeding and feeding and feeding and feeding
right,
in.
right,
And it happens all the time with the youth. They get these rumors and they feel like their identity has been taken over, and they're dying at such an age with
mm-hmm,
suicide. People are dying because of, like you said earlier, people who killed themselves because of this. You
right,
know what I'm saying?
right,
So this is a beautiful testimony to have, and to be able to write this in a book and share it out, because you never know who's going to be able to read it, and you don't know if that's somebody's moment right now. You can
right,
be dead, gone,
right,
and in peace, in rest, and
right,
somebody's right now is going through exactly what you went through. You know what I mean? And they're reading that book like, okay, okay, okay. It's going to be okay. I can get through
right,
this. And I
right,
think we need to remember that our testimony truly, truly has something greater in the long run, when we allow ourselves to project it out in the
right,
form of a book like you did. So that's
right.
a great thing that you did. So I gotta ask you, because time is coming up to an end. I
Mhm.
gotta ask you, what can be some lasting words of wisdom that you can leave us off with?
If I just can back up 1 second, even though I got 13 years, it was really ironic. I ended up only having to do 9 years. There was a law that was passed while I was in prison, called the First Step Act. I was in the federal system, and it was this law passed in 2018 for those who were turning 60 years old during their incarceration, and I happened to be in that category. So I was let go when I was after 9 years. So there was a real blessing there. But the words of wisdom. There's a couple of things, if I could say this, Mitzi.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys that came into prison, I'm not talking about the guys who planned their lives that, they were dealing drugs or whatever. And I'm not pointing fingers by any stretch. But, when you're doing things that you're going to get in trouble for, you take that responsibility, you take that risk that you could get shot, you could get killed, you
Yeah,
could get knifed,
absolutely.
you could go to prison, and you're willing to pay that price to do what you're doing. And those are the guys that, I mean, I loved everybody that I was with. Everybody was, for the most part, I really had a good reputation with most everybody that I was with. But with the white collar guys, doctors, lawyers, professionals, they were completely beaten up when they came in. And they used to call me in prison. My name was Gino, and that was my nickname. And they used to call me, some of the guys used to tease me and call me St. Gino, the patron saint of lost causes, because the guys that were having problems would come over and, kind of cry on my shoulder. But I understood what they
Yeah.
were going through, and I knew the pain they were going through. But what I said to these folks is, I said, you have a blessing that you don't realize yet. And they look at me like I had three heads. And I said, now you know who your friends are. Now
Yeah.
you know who really loves you. And we would never know that because before everything happened, I considered hundreds of friends, and they were really nothing more than acquaintances, which are fine. But a friend is someone that will get up at quarter to 3 in the morning and help you in whatever situation you got. And there's not many of
Absolutely.
those people that will do that. So
Nope.
we were, I and those guys were able to find out who our true friends were and who really loved us. But to answer your question, um, my word of wisdom is never give up. No matter how much you go through, don't ever give up. Because in every setback, in every adversity, in every difficulty, there is going to be at least a nugget of knowledge that you're going to get from that. And the thing is that, if you sit there and say, I can't believe this happened to me, and your life just goes into a tailspin. First of all, give yourself a break. If you have a problem, okay, you're going to feel rotten. You're a human being. I tell people we're
Yeah.
spiritual beings in a human body, and this human body betrays us many times. But the
Yeah.
thing is that, give yourself a break, that you're going to feel bad. There's going to be a certain amount of grieving from whatever that is, that grieving time. But take that and turn it into something positive, because you've been given a gift that most people have never been given. And that's the gift of turnaround. That's the gift of picking yourself up and really looking at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? I survived that. I can survive this. And this is even the adversity that still, comes up, nothing like I went through. But I look back at that, Mitzi, and I look back at that time, and I've been out of prison now for over 4 years.
Mhm.
But I look back at that time and I think, you know what, guy, you went through that. You can go through anything. And it's true. I went through a marital
Exactly.
breakup while I was there. It broke my heart. But the thing is that my wife, my ex-wife, I ended up with a nervous breakdown, and I have no bad feelings or anything like that.
Yeah.
But my point is that some of us can handle adversity better than others. But the thing
Absolutely.
is that you have to realize that there is knowledge in the reversal. And I in one of my books, I wrote that you have to make your darkest hour your defining moment. And I think
Mm.
that's so important. And when you're able to overcome all of the negative things that come up in your life, you realize how truly strong you are, and you realize how much God has given you to overcome with.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think that's a great point to leave us off with to keep on thinking because giving yourself a break, giving yourself self-forgiveness, self-compassion. Goodness, let's be compassionate with ourselves. We've been through a lot already. And I
Mhm.
love the fact that you said that when you when you get down, you have the opportunity to get back up again. And I think a lot of people don't realize about that opportunity. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we pause in our life thinking that our life is stopped and everything stopped. But no, in actuality, you just paused. You just paused. All you got to do is just keep walking again. Just keep
Right.
walking. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's okay to pause. It's okay to stop to get yourself a breather and
Hmm.
figure out where you're going, but keep on walking. Don't stop.
That's right.
Your life stops literally only when you decide to stop. So you
Hmm.
got to keep going. Even if that means you're crawling, then crawl because
Right.
eventually while you're crawling, you're eventually going to start walking. You're going to pick yourself up and start
Right.
walking. And that's
That's right.
and that takes time, but you got to get that minor those little accomplishments, those little goals in your life
Right.
and celebrating it because it does not take it doesn't not life doesn't happen in a day. It takes little
No.
steps. So you got to give yourself that grace.
That's
Oh,
right.
and God's grace is the only thing that really gives you that peace of mind
That's
that
right.
it's
That's
okay
right.
because there are so many people, so many, oh, like I I don't want to say it, but there's so many things out there that wish that they had the opportunity to live, but can't actually live. You know what
Right.
I mean? And it's like only if we realize how human beings, the opportunities that we have
Hmm.
just for just being human, and we
Right.
take that for granted. And like you said earlier, we are a spirit in a human body. So it's just like as a spirit, have compassion because you are also just a mere human that's bound to make mistakes, that's bound to have sins. My sins are no better than your sins. And when we start to remember that, then we got to also remember that he has enough grace for you. He has enough
Right.
grace for me.
Right.
If he can forgive your sins and he can forgive my own. So it's like we got to remember this. And that's why having this community, having this open conversation about these topics, these real topics that are affecting real people,
Hmm.
this is important because people can relate to this. So if
Right.
anybody's out there who wants to know more about Guy and all that he has to offer the world, please check him out. I have his website that has everything that he has to offer the world so that you can keep on thinking because that's the point, right? Is to keep on thinking. So with that being said, you bye.